Hello everyone, Android user here. Since it is the holidays, I've decided to create a consumer guide videos which talks about smartphones and tablets in general. The first part right now is going to be talking about low to mid-end devices such as Android and Windows and maybe older iPhones. And later we're going to be talking about high-end, but right now let's get to the low to mid-end devices. Here we have our list of smartphones. As you can see, the first on our list is the Nexus 4 and the Galaxy Nexus. The reason why I put them both in the same category is because both of these devices are pure Google, and if it is your first time using a Google Android device, I strongly recommend you getting the Nexus 4, especially if you want to cut some costs and avoid maybe like the higher end devices, because this is definitely getting the most bang for your buck. The Nexus 4 has been selling out in most parts of the world, and probably because of its insanely low price, because it is running a quad core and just all of the specs, IPS screen, they are amazing specs for such a cheap device. Bad thing is that there's less storage, like 8 and 16 gig, whereas maybe the more popular devices like the iPhone 5 has 16, 32 and 64 gigs. But for $299 you can get this device which has such good quality hardware and software. And with the Nexus device you can also get the latest updates and the smoothest, arguably the smoothest running interface for Android. The main problem that a lot of people think Android has is fragmentation, and by getting the Nexus 4 you'll be avoiding all of the problems with updating, because Nexus devices will get the fastest updates over the air. We also have the Galaxy Nexus, which I briefly mentioned, and it is definitely a lot cheaper now when you buy it, especially in December. It is still able to run the latest software, which is proof of how great the Nexus devices are. And overall, other than a few battery issues that I've heard about, like not enough battery, the Galaxy Nexus is definitely worth buying as well if you have restrictions such as the carriers or other problems that you can't get the Nexus 4. But currently the Nexus 4 is selling online, so I definitely recommend you checking it out and looking over it at least. The next devices we have is the HTC series. In general, this is not really listed as best to worst, but I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this. I personally think in terms of budget devices that the HTC has outdone Samsung, the major competitor, for their budget devices. We have here for Samsung the Ace 2, Rugby and Mini and the Galaxy Y, all great devices, but let's talk about HTC budget devices right now. We have the 1V, which is very responsive in general, and 3.7 inch with a very thin bezel, as you can see here, and supports micro SD, a lot of standard that you can find on Android. But the reason why I would pick the 1V, Desire X, Desire Z, or the Wildfire S, even though this is older, is because HTC has managed to run their Sense on even such a budget device quite smoothly. I've personally tried all of these devices, especially the Wildfire S. I know a friend who uses it extensively, and I can say it is quite impressive how, despite the low specs, that it is still capable of running smoothly. If we are looking for a phone that can play some games, check email, use data, and don't want to spend a lot, these devices are definitely worth looking into. Most of these devices have come out pretty much a few months ago. Say the Desire X came out in October, that's a bit better, but the Desire Z came out in June, the 1V came out in April, so despite the fact that it came out a few months ago, they're still quite capable, and I would recommend you looking at these devices if you're looking for easy to use budget smartphone. The next on the list we have is the Sony Xperia series, and the thing about these series is that they're unique for the most part, but then the problem is that Sony Xperia hasn't really been a brand that has been marketed well. As we all know, all of the devices out there, most of them run overlay, and Sony is no exception. They're running sort of their own launcher as well, and it is not that heavy compared to maybe Sense or Samsung. If you want to get a cheap sort of compact device that is also extremely durable, then Sony Xperia Go is the way to go. I'm not sure if you've seen any of the damage tests or like stress tests on the Go, but it is actually quite amazing, and the specs itself is relatively average, but the durability of this device is quite unbelievable. We also have the U, which is 3.5 inch, and the P, which is 4.0 inch. Even though these are actually pretty well for budgets, the reason why it can fit in the low to mid end is because it's been released a few months ago, like May, and therefore it is easier to get these on a cheaper contract or like price currently. And finally, we have the Samsung low end to mid devices.